So did you get a chance to look up this Elizabeth Dionne?
Yeah.
Okay. Is she Republican?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
And I've got a question for about her father.
Okay. Do you want to get going?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Mike's in Canada and he will not be zooming in.
Did you say something about Mike?
Is in Canada and he will not be zooming in.
Okay. Beautiful. I'll knock him off and pull around that.
Oh, good morning, Ned.
I'll just fix that now. Go ahead.
All right.
Please go ahead.
Low 46, high of 63, rain 45%. In 1495, a monk, John Core, records the first known batch of Scotch whiskey. 1533, Anne Boleyn, crowned Queen of England, second wife, lasted 3 years. 1779, court-martial for malfeasance of Benedict Arnold, a general in the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War. Court-martial begins. 1812, U.S. President James Madison asks the Congress to declare war on the United Kingdom.
Excuse me, Clint. Is there a way you can get the mic closer to your mouth?
Oh, sure.
Like 4 inches from your mouth. Thank you.
Well, I need to print differently then. 1939, first flight of the German Focke-Wulf 190. And in 1980, cable news network CNN began broadcasting. I was living overseas shortly after that, and it was a real boon. Born on this day in 1801, Brigham Young American religious leader, second president of the Church of Latter-day Saints. Died in 1877. Born in 1926, Marilyn Monroe, American model and actress, passed away in 1962. I didn't realize she'd been born that long ago.
100 years old.
And
She would have been 100 years old.
would have been. And in 1968, Helen Keller passed away, American author and activist, born in 1880. Today is Global Day of Parents. Let's hear it for you and I, John. And it's World Milk Day.
What are we supposed to do about the milk? Any suggestions?
Well, according to one person, I guess you need to mix it with chocolate because white milk is a sign of white supremacy. I thought that was a little off.
Whatever you say.
On Friday, off air at the end of the show, we were talking homelessness, and I brought up the doctrine of the Protestant work ethic. And I thought it'd be worth just mentioning it. It emphasizes that a person's subscription to the values espoused by the Protestant faith, especially John Calvin or Calvinism, results in diligence, discipline, and frugality. And this is an approach adopted by our Puritan forefathers here in Massachusetts. Not adopted down in Virginia, where they tried to found the first colony, until the guy in charge said, "Those who won't work won't eat." The term was initially coined by the sociologist Max Weber in his 1905 book, The Protestant Elite and the Spirit of Capitalism. This was following a study trip to America. Weber developed a theory of the Protestant work ethic, which included more considerations and attitude to work. But I would assert that that's something that's missing from society these days. It was a big deal when I was growing up. How about you, John?
Oh, excuse me, I'm trying to get Facebook going. What do you want me to know?
It's okay. I just wasted the last 3 minutes. The Protestant work ethic, I was reviewing it.
Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with Facebook.
No. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney called for a new partnership with the United States to help make America great again. He did this in a speech delivered in New York on Thursday. That's very nice. So someone tweeted out that police responded to a call for the sound of gunfire at the house of Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Friday night, I think, but quickly realized it was a swatting call and cleared after meeting with her security detail. So swatting, I think, can be dangerous. Someone might think it's funny or harassment, but in a way, it's setting someone up to be shot and killed. Not a good thing. So, come back to the
Thanks, Joe.
So I'm wondering about this Maine Senate candidate, Graham Plattner, running against the incumbent Susan Collins, the oyster farmer with the silver spoon in his mouth.
Oh, good, thanks.
Our senior senator, Elizabeth Warren, seems to like him, Nazi tattoo and lack of sympathy for others notwithstanding. He just does not strike me as the kind of person I want in Congress. So, I was asked by the producer if I was going to read Dr. Jill Biden's new book, which will be out tomorrow or the day after. It's titled View from the East Wing, a memoir. And I was not planning on reading it.
Well, I did catch a little bit of her. Actually, I got all of her interview on 60 Minutes. And where was Joe? Why didn't Joe come out and say hello to everybody? I think he's sick. And they're covering it up through today. Why don't people, no wonder people don't trust government anymore. Sad. I'm not wishing Biden any, I hope he's healthy as a horse. But he should have walked through the set and shook people's hands yesterday. And he didn't. So that's a strong indicator to me that he's not as healthy as his wife is telling the public he is. Just buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. Buy my book, buy my book.
I did think her response in the interview to President Biden's debate performance in 2024 was a little weird. She thought he was having a stroke. But then she didn't rush him off to the hospital after the debate.
Neither did the Secret Service.
That was...
And they know what drugs you've taken. And they know what the reaction. This doctor that's with him. He was president at the time, wasn't he?
Yep.
So he'd have a doctor, Secret Service, and they're just lying to us. I don't trust, you can't trust at least the Washington government anymore. They just lie.
Yeah, I think it goes back further than that, but yeah, I think we were being...
You wanted use something less than lied to? Why not call it what it is? We're being lied to.
Because I'm old and my memory's bad and I can't think of the word gaslighting.
I'm old too, but...
Gaslighting would be the term I would use to describe it, which you can translate as they lied to us. Have you been following the musicals that were being set up for our 250th anniversary? All the acts are dropping out?
Yeah.
Because...
Hollywood's telling them to. Our side's got to win. Don't you understand that? It's the Democrats versus the Republicans.
But I don't see how our side, America, wins.
No.
People drop out.
It's a party war. I don't pay attention to him. I couldn't get. Are you gonna sit by your TV set and watch these musical people scream about sex in front of the White House and pull on their personal organs, during their broadcast. That's what they're going to do. Parade around and you're supposed to go act like you don't notice that they're being pigs. And nobody calls them out on it.
Yeah. I'm so old I'd like to go back to the days of Kate Smith. God bless America.
That'd be nice.
Could you find a online video of Kate Smith singing God Bless America?
When I finally get caught up over here, I'll be glad to work on all that stuff, Cliff.
All right. So you're pressing on. So flags in Massachusetts should still be flying at half-staff for Boston firefighter Roger Kilduff, whose funeral is today down in the Boston Cathedral. The bishop's turning out to say the Mass. He'll be interned today, but the flags will still remain at half-staff for former U.S. Congressman Barney Frank from down in the Boston area. Interment is set for Monday, 8 June. I saw something I thought was interesting, but I don't want to implement it. The Lowell Sun had an op-ed on replacing gerrymandering with proportional representation. And the example is in a 5-seat congressional district, if Party A gets 40% of the vote, it gets 2 seats awarded to the 2 most popular candidates from that party, and then Party B gets 40%, it gets 2 seats, and Party C, if they come up next with 20% of the vote, they get 1 seat. You'd have all parties would follow the same rules, and this would result in a surge of representation from opposing parties from each state in Congress. Like in Massachusetts, we have 9 congressmen. They're all Democrats.
I got 3 comments from the audience.
Okay.
Way to make America great again. Deport Chief Warren, Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, etc., etc. How about right after the debate, they lied and told us Joey had a cold. Remember that lie?
Yep.
President Obama told us that Joe Biden was fit for the job. Another lie. Where's the media and all this nonsense? It's a Democratic media. Back to you, Cliff.
So, in Massachusetts, we might find, instead of 9 Democrats on our delegation to Washington, we might find there are 6 or 7 Democrats and 2 or 3 Republicans. Do you think that's a better system, John?
What was the alternative?
Proportional representation.
No.
What?
No. I don't want proportional representation.
Okay.
My vote's my vote. This hanky-panky to get their friends elected, I don't want it.
Yeah. So, there was a scary story out of Alabama, which I haven't talked about, but on 12 May, workers doing routine maintenance on a reservoir dam in Mobile, Alabama, found a grenade-type IED at the dam. That's not very
Well, somebody
good.
was horsing around with some pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine, that's all over Europe, though, all the time. they find World War II stuff. They dig up a building, they find a bomb, or they find some kind of explosive device that's from World War II.
The implication was that this was not left over from World War II, but was planted more recently. Cuba's kind of interesting. There's a lot going on. The country's facing a potential economic collapse, a surge in protests. We've indicted Raul Castro in the death of an American shot down off the Cuban coast. And on the other hand, we're engaging with the Cuban government, and we gave them $100 million relief benefits. So I don't know. Is Cuba going to go the way of Venezuela? Are we going to kidnap Raul Castro? I don't think so.
Maybe it's next on the list. You never know. Trump, you never know what Trump's going to do. They took his name off the library. I never understood why he put his name up there, but it's gone. And now the Boston media's bending over backwards to cover every event that's at the JFK library.
No, his name wasn't on the JFK library. He was
Okay,
on
thank you for the correction. I think you know what I meant.
He was on the Kennedy Performing Arts Center down in Washington, D.C.
Okay, never mind.
And a judge said, you got 2 weeks to get that name off the building. Maybe now Congress will step up and take some responsibility for fixing the building. It's in need of repair. There's awards ceremonies there every year. On the other hand, over the weekend we had at the JFK Library in Boston the award of Kennedy Profiles in Courage. So they gave that to...
All this time, I thought they were talking about the same building.
No.
How many buildings they got named after Kennedy? Good old JFK.
Well, at least 2. So 42% of Democrats think the Butler assassination attempt on Trump was staged. Can you imagine putting yourself out there to be shot at? You'd have to have a lot of confidence in the marksman. And the one that they nabbed...
Well, what's the gain? What was the gain?
Gained sympathy for Trump and attention to him.
Well, Joe Biden didn't deserve any sympathy after his terrible performance at the debate? You see that
yes.
differently. You see that differently.
I see it differently.
Okay.
So, there have been several assassination attempts, and for each attempt, a majority of Americans said either that it was staged or they were not sure, averaging 54% across all 3. And about 1 in 4 Americans think the April shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner was staged, according to a new survey. Roughly 1 in 3 Democrat respondents said they believed the event was staged, compared with about 1 in 8 Republicans. Not a good thing. Senators to suspend their pay during government shutdowns. This won approval in the Senate, for the Senate only. following we had record-setting lapses in funding. The resolution applies only to senators withholding pay into an escrow account. It takes effect after this year's midterm elections. This was introduced by Senator John Kennedy, Republican, Louisiana. So they don't lose the money, they just don't have access to it until they get the bills passed.
Well, nobody loses the money. They all get paid retroactively.
Yeah? Well, at least it's something. So, something that I thought was interesting is term suicide empathy. A 23-year-old woman survived a violent attack on the subway in New York City and refused to cooperate with prosecutors because, as she told the New York Post, a part of me was just like, I don't want to put another black man in jail. So the man ended up in a psychiatric ward, and then he got released, and then he pushed some old school teacher down the stairs in the subway, and the guy died.
A lot of mental illness out there.
Hey, Lowell Folk Festival is coming. According to the tracker, there's less than 70 days until the 39th Lowell Folk Festival. Yeah, so
That'll be fun. I hope it's a good weather weekend.
Yeah. Melanie Gilbert asked us to mark our calendars now for the longest running and second largest folk festival, which will kick off with the traditional Parade of Flags Friday, July 24th at 6:15 p.m. and run through Sunday, July 26th. That should be fun.
All righty.
Yeah. The Lowell Food Pantry, Open Pantry of Lowell, is on the hunt for a new venue, which they're working on, per Aaron Gendron. So there was in the paper listed as a national issue, but really it's a local charity, so I don't know.
The food pantry?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know anything about it.
Mm.
Probably helps a lot of poor people. Senior Center gives out food too.
So Lowell's 200th anniversary is this year. In celebration of Lowell's bicentennial, the city announced the availability of grant funding to support cultural and creative initiatives. The funding opportunity is made possible through the American Rescue Plan Act, intended to revitalize Lowell's cultural economy, which was disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, the pandemic during which disrupted everything. Total funding available is $250,000, with a maximum grant for any one individual of $50,000.
So Cliff, it's 6:30. Have we had enough history now?
How do you mean?
Well, you're just reading off a text over there. You done? 6:30.
Well, did you find Kate Smith?
Not looking for her. I can't play it where you can hear her.
Well, if you can play for the audience, that would be good for them.
Frankly, no, because I'm going to likely get a copyright check off from Facebook saying I'm playing copyrighted music.
Well, why is it out on the interwebs then?
Facebook, you're a member of Facebook. They don't take questions.
Yeah.
See, right now we got 5,000 people who follow me, so I don't want to mess with that.
So speaking of Facebook, I didn't understand the picture of the 3 firefighters with the 12-ounce cans of water that you posted to Facebook.
I don't know what that is, Cliff. I'll have to go over and have a look. I just finished with the Lowell Sun. Nothing there. I'll go to Facebook now and see what you're talking about. I repost a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a little pokey, Facebook.
So apparently Merrimack Community College has a vision of what to do with the Inland Conference Center.
You know what? Maybe we should call Jose this morning. It's his first day on CAP. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't harass him.
These guys right here?
Yeah.
What about it?
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to take from that photograph.
3 firefighters having a great time and they got some water with them. Lowell guys.
Yep.
Ghetto firefighter. I don't know what that is.
They're all Lowell firefighters.
I'm guessing they are, yeah, because there's the Lowell truck. And they got these cans of water. So, and they look like they're pretty happy guys.
Yeah, they do look pretty happy.
So this is Rescue 1. That's the R1. And with these other 2 guys, I don't know if they're... Well, he's an R1. Not clear what this guy here is. Let me blow him up a little bit. See what his helmet says. Come on, baby. That doesn't want to do it. So that's it. That's as big as I can make it. I don't know what his helmet's... He must be with the rescue, too.
What are the comments? When I looked at it, there had been no comments yet.
It says... I'll slide it over so we can all enjoy what I'm talking about here. Our ghettos are nothing compared to most of the places on this page. Honestly, one of the best water you can drink, flood buds. One thing I learned from Liquid Death is water does not belong in a can. Heroes, H2 zeros. Oh, they're swearing there, so that'd be the end of these texts. Thanks.
Yeah.
See, they slip off they get into the King's English, and I can't be broadcasting that.
So anyway, the former UMass Lowell Inland Conference Center was basically confiscated by Governor Healy as a temporary home for immigrant families. And on June 30th, it will get released back to the community. And according to the news report,
Must be gas in the house.
yeah. So the it looks like it's going to be repurposed by Middlesex Community College, which makes sense. It's right next door. I think that'll be good.
No, I think it's going to be turned into something else, Cliff.
What do you think it's going to be turned into?
The homeless capital of New England. I think they're going to put staff in there to cook, paid staff, state employees, and perpetuate the situation for the homeless down there. And the newcomers, for the lack of a better way, for the illegals.
Yeah.
But people seem to like the term newcomers.
There's some read an article. Some kid in the high school English class used the term illegal immigrant. They got expelled. Parents sued, and the school had to backtrack. Although I'm sure that kid's a pariah now within his school system. But not good. So we have our own little illegal immigrant issue boiling up here in Lowell. Guillermo Campos Candida, 23, of Lowell, hit and killed someone on Pawtucket Boulevard. And ICE moved in and detained him, calling him a criminal alien. His lawyer is pushing back on that, but so here's a Lowell resident, kills a Lowell resident. He's in the country illegally. Is he a legal alien? Should we deport him? Or should we just try him and put him in jail?
Try him, put him in jail, and then deport him.
Okay.
Because if you just deport him, what's going to happen?
Well, I don't know.
Nothing's going to happen on the other end. They'll probably give him a bravo.
Well, I wondered about why we're deporting people to countries that are not their native land. And it turns out some of the illegal immigrants don't want to go home. They had fled their own nation, and they want to get a fresh start somewhere else. So we're now deporting them to other countries that are willing to take them.
Hey, it's Martha Mayo's birthday, so happy birthday, Martha.
Okay. I wonder what happened to Eileen.
She's going to call in for 7, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, well, that's
Unless you did you agree on an earlier time today?
No, I did not talk to her. I made an assumption. Of course, you know what that is.
So when I talked to her last week, we agreed that once she gets Anthony all set to go, that should be by 7. So I expect she'll be zooming in before then. And Fru, I don't know what's going on with Fru. I didn't get any message from Fru.
Neither did I. So apparently we're taking a shot at Italian attaché cases, plastic bags. There's a bill in the legislature designed to boost the environment and ban single-use plastic bags.
Well, you know, Cliff, I like the plastic bags, and they're great trash can liners, and for putting leftovers out to trash easily, and it's walk around the house with a little bag, you fill it up with trash. I find them quite handy. The paper bags, pretty much useless for doing that. The design of them is they just tear. Thoughts?
I'm with you. They are a handy device.
So maybe we should call Vanna Howard, you know how attentive she is to phone calls, and tell her, Vanna, we want to keep the plastic bags. But
Yeah.
she'll jump through whatever hoop. Okay. Hey, Alex, I'll be right there, thanks. Bye. Cliff, I'm going to go let the guest in.
Okay. So, it's estimated that Massachusetts residents use more than 2 billion plastic bags every year. So, there's a lot of them going into the refill.
Well, how about the bags for bread? Are they going to be illegal too? Because they're single use.
Yeah, they're more single use than the Italian attaché cases.
I think that's derogatory, but
Yeah, it is.
why don't you call them Air Force attaché cases or something?
Because my lived experience living in Italy was that everybody was using those plastic bags to carry things around. But that's just my experience. If you are a candidate or know a candidate would like to have them on, we're hoping to have a candidate on today for statewide office treasurer, and give people a chance to highlight who they are, what they stand for, and that'll be good. So, come on over and join us. Let me turn your mic on, since I forgot to turn my mic on.
Perfect.
Right. And this is our candidate. And would you pronounce your name so we get it straight?
Yes, it's Elizabeth Dionne.
Dionne, okay. The chances of me screwing that up are at least 50-50.
It's tough to offend me.
Okay. So, and you're running for Mass State Treasurer.
I am. It is the most important job in Massachusetts that voters know nothing about. So I'm running to be, we call me the taxpayer's treasurer, because the treasurer controls a huge amount of assets and money, in particular up to a fifth of the state budget, plus things like the $120 billion pension fund and $120 billion in debt. We have the second highest debt load per capita of any of the states. So
Ooh.
People need to know about
That's
this
a shock.
office.
Now, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble with the producer if you don't look at the
Oh, okay.
camera.
I'm happy to look at the camera.
Yeah. So, a little background. You've been a lawyer here in Boston, but you hail from California?
Well, I was born in California. I am the fifth of 10 children. All 10 of us were born in California. And then my parents moved to Utah while I was a teenager. But then I came to Massachusetts in 1988 to attend Wellesley College, and this has been my home ever since. Love Massachusetts, raised all 4 of our children here, and this is where we want to be and where we want to serve.
So, your father was in the state senate?
He was. My father was a California state senator for the same 2 terms that Ronald Reagan was governor. And in fact, Dad was leader of the Republican Senate caucus. So he met with Reagan on almost a daily basis because Dad needed to get Reagan's legislative agenda through a minority. They were the minority party, and so they enacted a lot of reforms while Dad was the senator.
Well, speaking of that, was he a state senator when Assemblyman Jim Hayes introduced no-fault divorce?
What year did Hayes do that?
It would be about 66, 67.
Yeah, so Dad served from 67 to 75.
He never made a comment.
That I don't know. What I can say is Dad, who was known as one of the most conservative senators in California and the father of 10 children, nonetheless was a co-sponsor of the bill before Roe versus Wade that allowed abortion in the case of rape, incest, life or health of the mother, because he just felt that it was wrong that a woman in those circumstances could not seek a legal, safe abortion. So again, he was pro-life personally, but he absolutely understood compassionate responses to women's needs and circumstances.
Okay. So you went to school in Cambridge in England?
I did. I spent 2 wonderful years in Cambridge, England as something called a Marshall Scholar.
Ah.
And the Marshall Scholarship was set up by the English government or the British government to say thank you to the United States. After World War II, America offered something called the Marshall Plan, which helped rebuild the economies of Europe, but in particular rebuilt the economies of Germany and the United Kingdom, because we understood that a strong Europe was a really important bulwark against particularly communism.
So you enjoyed your time in England?
Loved my time in England. I studied something called political philosophy.
Ah.
Not very practical, but important. We think about why we have rule of law, why we have a constitution. What is it that makes these things work? How do we govern ourselves rather than being governed by an autocrat?
And you learned England's constitution is not written down?
Well, most of it's not written down. They're bits and pieces. That's, obviously you know a lot if you know that it's an unwritten constitution. But the Magna Carta is written down.
That's true.
And the settlement after the Revolution of 1688, when they wrote down that the king was subservient to Parliament. So there are parts of it that are written down.
Yeah. I happen to think 1215, the Magna Carta, is a very important date.
Yes.
The producer, not so much. That he thinks that's just all old history. Yeah, I spent a year going to school in England myself. So
Where did you go?
I went to the Royal Air Force Staff College.
Oh, wow.
Out west of Windsor. It was a very great experience. I really enjoyed it.
Well, who was it who said that we are cousins divided by a common language? It might have been Oscar Wilde.
Could have been.
I think.
Yeah.
Or Winston Churchill, one of those.
Well, the one that sticks in my mind is there was this conference that went on all day between U.S. and British military people. And the reason it was so long was that the British were proposing to table the issue, and the Americans did not want it tabled. And for the British to table it was to put it on the table, talk about it, and vote. And for Americans to table it is to put it on the table and shove it aside.
Well, it's interesting. So I was a 10-year local elected official in Belmont and started in town meeting and then joined the finance committee and then became chair of the community preservation committee and then became a select board member. But we always put Article 1 for town meeting for us is we put reports on the table. And when we do this in town meeting, that means we can discuss the reports at any time during town meeting. And Belmont has the largest representative town meeting in Massachusetts, 300 members. And we are a chatty group. So there was a lot to discuss while reports were on the table. But I loved my time in local office, loved service. Local office is where we solve problems.
Yeah.
The issues at the local level are not, I always say potholes aren't red or blue, they're just potholes that want to be fixed. We all want safe communities. We all want good schools. So something that I really appreciated about my time in Belmont was that we worked in a very bipartisan fashion to solve some real problems. And we did. We solved a lot of real problems in Belmont. And I would have run for select board again, but realized, and this applies to Lowell as well, realized despite everything that we had done in Belmont, our biggest problem was a lack of local aid. The state budget has doubled, and local aid's gone up only 25%. And so in Belmont, we reformed our finance team, we brought down our expense growth, we rezoned to be more business friendly, to have commercial and development and businesses, and none of it's enough. The state is keeping the money, and it's giving us the responsibility, and the numbers just don't work. And in particular, the treasurer's office, and this is why I decided to run for treasurer, is the single largest source of local aid. The treasurer runs the lottery, and the lottery is the fourth highest source of revenue. And again, the single largest source of unrestricted government assistance. And unfortunately, the incumbent has not run the lottery well. We have talked to many lottery employees who told us that she's hiring people who are not trained, are not capable. And as a result, Massachusetts, which used to be the leader in state lotteries, our revenues are down. And that has a direct dollar for dollar impact on local governments and their budgets and their ability to deliver the basic services that people want, whether it's public safety or education, streets and sidewalks, water infrastructure, all of that, the treasurer has a clear role in helping.
Is the treasurer in charge of online gambling?
No, not, although the iLottery is coming. So the Gaming Commission, I believe, would deal with online gambling.
Why do you think the treasurer let that get by?
That's really structurally an issue that's determined by the legislature. The reason the lottery is with the treasurer is a historic relic. So what happened is every time, and the treasurer is a uniquely powerful position. Every time there was a Republican governor, the legislature would give the treasurer something or would give the treasurer a portfolio to keep patronage hires within the Democratic Party. So when the lottery was adopted, Frank Sargent was the governor. So instead of Frank Sargent getting the lottery, it went to Bob Crane. And then when Mitt Romney was the governor, the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission actually was with the governor, got taken from Mitt Romney, given to the treasurer. And then when Charlie Baker was the governor, instead of the Cannabis Control Commission going to the governor, it also went to the treasurer. So you had three major revenue generating divisions. Instead of going to the governor, going to the treasurer. Now, Deb Goldberg, the incumbent, made such a hash of the Cannabis Control Commission that in April, the legislature voted 155-0 to take it away from her. I have never seen an entire party vote against one of their own members. She was so bad. Speaker Ron Mariano called the Cannabis Control Commission a train wreck. And so they took it away from her and gave it to the governor, and the governor can reform it.
You've been around not as long as I have. You worked in small government, and you're studying big government now. How many people got fired
How many people got fired?
from government?
I
The
think
answer's usually zero.
I was going to say, they're not getting fired, they're getting hired.
So no matter what you do, you can have a train wreck every day of the week. You're going home Friday at noontime.
We also know a number of the employees in the treasurer's office work remotely, so we have no idea what they're doing. We're not
Still
monitoring.
do. Do you know how many no-show jobs are in Belmont?
In Belmont, no-show jobs,
How do you know that?
because as a
Are
select
the
board
checks,
member,
are the checks electronic?
they are now.
Okay, then you have no idea.
Well, but the reason I do have an idea is Belmont, we have had to eliminate position after position because we don't have sufficient funding. So I am highly confident that those, and we're not that big. I see those DPW workers showing up every day. I see the police officers showing up.
Unless you have, once a month, you have to pick up your check at town hall. No one can pick it up for you. You have to pick it up once a month. That's the only way you're going to find no-show jobs.
I disagree, and the reason I say that is we have some really, really good department heads in Belmont.
I understand.
They know
Who
each
can't-
of their employees.
But respectfully, Elizabeth, they can't be fired. So if you can't be fired, why are you going to push excellence out the door? You might get in trouble for that.
I'm sorry, why am I going to push what out the door?
Excellence.
I would say, as someone who knows a lot of the employees in Belmont, we have outstanding public employees in Belmont.
We talked about this at the beginning of the hour. I'm not sure that the producer was listening, but the Protestant work ethic, which underlined Puritan Massachusetts, is why you push excellence out the door. I mean, my father was a civil servant, set a world record for man-hours worked without a lost time accident for an industry of his size. He was a safety engineer for the, so that's why you put it out, because something inside of you. But have you ever heard the term lateral arabesque?
No.
Cliff,
That's the term.
grab another mic. That mic's not working for you.
This one's not working?
I'm not hearing you anymore. Just there's one at your hand. Sorry. I'm going to read these texts while you're doing that, Cliff.
All right.
What's going on with Russia, Ukraine war? All of a sudden it fell off the headlines. Oh, I guess I lost them all. Come on, baby, let's get back up there. Market Basket is the biggest offender of plastic bag industry. On a different note, without the plastic bags, how do we pick up after our dogs? Good point. What's going on with the Russian? We already did that guy. How about when President Biden fell going up the stairs, and when he fell on his bike, when he was tripped on stage, over a sandbag. Moving right along. Who will pick up the cost of renovations at the hotel? Can Elizabeth talk about high-speed rail system being built?
Actually, no, I can't. And the reason I'm going to say that is the Treasurer's Office has a lot of really important jobs. There's 12 divisions, but my job is to be laser focused on those 12 divisions. So the Treasurer's Office doesn't deal with national policy or international policy. The Treasurer's Office deals solely with Massachusetts policies, and that I'm interested in Massachusetts. And the phrase we use in the Treasurer's Office is make the trains run on time, but that's not literal. It just means that we want a Treasurer's Office that's clean and efficient and run for the benefit of the people. And the incumbent's not doing that. Here's an example. We looked at some wasteful spending in the Treasurer's Office. We saw $20 million wasted on event rental space, and we couldn't figure it out. And we have several representatives who've told us the story behind that. So Representative Mark Cusack represents Braintree, and he was questioning the treasurer about the Cannabis Control Commission and why it was such a train wreck. Well, the lottery was also in Braintree. She got mad at him, and so she moved the lottery from Braintree to Dorchester just out of political spite and to score a vendetta against him. That cost us $20 million in rental space. Those are the type of decisions the treasurer has the power to make, and that I will not follow her example, because every one of those dollars wasted is a dollar that can't go back to cities and towns and taxpayers.
Nobody got fired.
So back to lateral arabesque. There's a book out there called The Peter Principle, in which the author contends everyone gets promoted to their level of incompetence. They're doing a good job, they get promoted, they finally get promoted into a position that's beyond them.
On that note, Cliff, we're going to have to go to break. So we'll be
All right.
back. Thanks.
When we come back,
We'll talk about the other. We picked up.
So let's talk about Massachusetts building power. We talk about transparency. And I think let's go back again to the affordable
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the City Life Show. I'm Cliff Krieger, your host. Our producer, John McDonough. And we have with us Elizabeth Dionne, who's running for state treasurer here in Massachusetts. And how are you doing, Elizabeth?
Doing well. Glad to be here. Glad to be back in Lowell. We have been in Lowell a lot in recent months. It's a very important city and really important to our campaign for taxpayers treasurer.
So, you used to be a lawyer?
I am still a licensed attorney, although not currently practicing. So I began my career as a corporate attorney in Boston. And then my husband and I have a son with autism, and his autism was pretty involved. So I stepped down from my corporate career to become his advocate for a few years, because you really need to know special education law to navigate what your children need. And once he was more stable, I looked and realized I could go back to corporate law, didn't have to. And so instead, I started working for an organization called Massachusetts Advocates for Children, where we provided legal assistance to low-income parents of special needs children. And that was deeply satisfying. And then I became involved in local government, and I really enjoyed that too. So my legal skills are absolutely relevant and important, and I am still currently licensed to practice in Massachusetts. But currently, I am running to be the taxpayer's treasurer, to try to bring some accountability and transparency and operational efficiencies to the very important treasurer's office.
And I would try and work in some lawyer jokes, except my youngest son's a lawyer, and one you don't want to have to deal with. He is in the federal government in the area of asset forfeiture. And nobody wants their assets forfeited, I don't
Indeed,
think.
no.
So, Elizabeth, what's your favorite part of law to practice?
So I enjoyed my time in corporate law because the goal was to reach a mutually beneficial agreement. One of the things that I was told as a young attorney is if you reach agreement that's too favorable for one party, it's a bad agreement because it's going to fall apart. So I did enjoy that. But what I found most deeply satisfying was helping parents who had these children with special needs and who honestly sometimes felt despair because they'd really hit the end of the road. And when we were able to work with them and work with schools to provide the services these children needed, truly life-changing, truly life-changing.
Do you watch Landman?
I don't.
There's a good corporate. She's just as pretty as you.
Oh, you're very kind.
They're the lawyer in that show, and she's smart as a freaking whip. Oh my God, that's a smart chick she is. So back to Cliff. Sorry.
So, in the previous show, 5 minutes ago, we were talking about the Peter Principle, the idea that people get promoted to their level of incompetence. You're doing a good job, you get promoted, rightfully so. And then some people hit a point where they're now out of their depth. And the way of dealing with this is to move them laterally. And the author of the Peter Principle designates this the lateral arabesque, which is a term out of ballerinas and all that kind of thing. So, I don't even remember why we got on this. So, what are some of your goals for
the treasurer's office, things that I'd like to address? So there are a number of them. One is something called the Mass School Building Authority. And why this matters is this helps cities and towns rebuild failing schools. Belmont actually received assistance from the MSBA to rebuild both a middle and a high school. We did this for under $300 million. Right now, Lexington is building a $660 million high school that's receiving a lot of support from the state. Boston has proposed a $1 billion high school that will presumably receive support from the state. My concern is something that I call the education industrial complex, where everybody's in bed with each other, everybody's doing favors to each other, and the costs of these buildings are going through the roof so that everybody's making money on the backs of the taxpayers. This is a problem for a couple of reasons. Every dollar that is spent on one of these overpriced schools is a dollar that's not available to build schools in either gateway cities like Lowell or rural areas around the state. And an organization called Mass Inc. did a study last year where they found that disproportionately MSBA funds were going to wealthy suburban school districts. So the most privileged children are also getting the best buildings. So it's really important that the Mass School Building Authority is both efficient, so that we're not wasting money on expensive schools, so there's more money to spread around, and equitable, so that the way that we distribute those funds benefits all children, not just a few. So that's a major reason that I am running for state treasurer, is to ensure that the MSBA is run efficiently and well and fairly.
So tell me, where do you stand on the standoff between State Auditor Diana DiZoglio and the legislature?
I am fully on the side of the 72% of voters who asked for a legislative audit that has not been delivered yet. And I believe support's up to 86% for it now in the latest polling. As a local official, I had to abide by open meeting law. I had to abide by open public records requests. And it was hard, but it was good. It led to transparent, open, responsive government. It meant that the citizens of Belmont knew exactly where their money was going and why. I think if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. So if I could abide by open, transparent government at the local level, then I pledge that I will do the same thing as treasurer. And as the taxpayer's treasurer, I pledge that my very first act will be to audit all 12 departments of the treasurer's office. And these aren't just superficial, perfunctory audits. These will be deep audits that help us understand where money is being wasted and where the structural problems are happening. So once we've done these thorough, deep audits, then we will have our roadmap for reform. It may not be necessary in all divisions, but to the extent that it is, we're going to find out. And I'm not claiming that there's been any illegal activity, but once you've had those audits, then you know if you need to pull in the Inspector General or the Attorney General to go after anything that's been illegal or untoward.
We've got a ballot initiative in November on rent control. I'm not sure this impacts Treasury, but I'm kind of concerned about it. I think the governor is correct that it would drive builders out of our Commonwealth.
Yeah, this is one of the rare instances where I think Mara Haley actually understands the economics of her decision. What rent control will do is benefit anyone who currently has an apartment. They'll get to keep their apartments, but no more will be built. So it means that all the haves, anyone who's got their apartment, will keep it, and will keep it at a nice rate. But anyone who can't get into an apartment won't be able to get in because no more will be built. I want to build more housing. And again, the treasurer doesn't directly impact this, but my record as a select board member in Belmont was that I absolutely supported very well thought out development that gave us additional housing options. In particular, in Belmont, we did a market analysis. We didn't have enough housing for seniors, and we didn't have housing for young professionals. So that's what's called small form housing. Those would be one bedroom apartments or studios. We can't mandate that that's what gets built, but we changed our zoning to encourage that type of building because that's the type of slightly lower cost housing that we desperately need. We don't need tens of thousands of units, we need hundreds of thousands of units, and those need to be spread around the state. And a major reason that I'm running for treasurer is because my husband and I are the parents of 4 adult children who cannot afford to live and raise their children here in Massachusetts. And neither their friends can't stay either. We are witnessing a hemorrhaging of our young, educated workforce. The largest outflow in Massachusetts right now is 25 to 45-year-olds. We've got to find ways for them to be able to afford to stay here in Massachusetts if we want this state to thrive and grow.
I think, to borrow a phrase from the progressives based on my lived experience, that we might be better off if the state worked to do Levittown-sized developments outside of 495. State providing transportation, like a highway, a rail line, a firehouse, other municipal buildings, schools, and the builders building inexpensive cookie-cutter houses that would sell for a lot less money.
I strongly agree that we need to look at economic development and housing outside of 495. Beacon Hill's attention is disproportionately focused on the greater Boston area, but we have so many important, whether it's the gateway cities outside 495 or rural areas outside 495, I do think that's where a lot of the state's future growth will come in terms of both affordability and small business creation, and hopefully ultimately creation of larger businesses that can employ our young people and give people an avenue to the life that they want, which is to be able to raise a family.
So when I look at Beacon Hill, I see a sort of top-down system rather than a bottom-up democratic system. And to the annoyance of the producer, I say that we have a troika running the government. The governor, the Senate president, and the House Speaker, and everyone marches to their tune or they get squeezed out.
You're correct that Massachusetts is unusual and the governor's position is weak when compared to the Speaker of the House and the state Senate. So probably the most powerful position in Massachusetts, not probably, the most powerful position is the Speaker of the House. Second most powerful is the Senate President, and the governor comes behind both of those. And then, to be honest, the treasurer's not far behind the governor, just because so many responsibilities have been given to the treasurer over the years. The Massachusetts state treasurer is actually more powerful than most other state treasurer positions. And again, it is because of things like the lottery, the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission, control of the Pension Retirement Board, control of the pension investment management through Prim and Pritt. So one of the things that I had said I'd like to address is our pension situation. We have a big hole in our pension right now. So our pension fund is about $150 and $120 billion. And we've got as high as a $33 billion gap between what we have and what we need to fully fund the pensions that we promised. One of my major concerns, though, is that the pension board lately has been denying full pension benefits to Department of Corrections officials. And that, in my mind, is completely wrong. As a select board member in Belmont, we did reform our investment strategy for our local pension system. But I always said that the pensions that we'd promised were sacred. They're not large. People have been relying on this. They've worked for decades. They've worked diligently as public servants. And it's suspicious to me that the pension board is going after Department of Corrections retirees specifically. It feels to me like part of this same anti-law enforcement sentiment that permeates the current administration. I don't know that, but why else are they going specifically after Department of Corrections employees and denying them Group 2 status?
Yeah, I was not aware of that.
It's come up only recently, but we've heard from many, many employees that they, instead of being given 80% benefits, they're being given 50% benefits. They're being told they have to work longer than they were previously promised.
Elizabeth, I'm told that if the state goes bankrupt, people's pensions won't happen anymore. Is that true?
Not entirely true. They'll happen to the extent that the pensions are funded. So that's why it matters that we have this $33 billion gap. So what you're talking about is bankruptcy does mean the pensions would be impacted. But I believe they'd be impacted across the board. I don't think they'd go to nothing. They would just go to less than what we promised people. There are people who are grossly overpaid in Massachusetts, but those tend to be members of the UMass system, and those are the ridiculously huge pensions. The biggest pensions go to retired administrators from the UMass system who make well into six figures and pull pensions that can be close to $300,000, or former politicians. So I believe that Billy Bulger pulls a pension of roughly close to $250,000 a year.
Is Marty making more money?
Is who?
Marty?
Marty Meehan.
Yes, he's making a huge
He's making
salary.
more than Balser.
Oh yeah.
That must be nice. So,
And I meant pension, not salary.
yeah, the Cannabis Control Commission is not under the treasurer?
No, it got taken away in
Yeah.
May. Because for 9 years, so the Cannabis Control Commission was formed in 2017. We made a lot of promises about public safety, like that there'd be monitoring to make sure that marijuana products, that we knew their potency, that they were not moldy, that they weren't dangerous. We also made a lot of promises to local businesses and cities and towns that this would be economically advantageous. And it was so chaotic, and it was run in particular, the incumbent treasurer, Deb Goldberg, had a crony, for want of a better word, named Sean Collins, who had no qualifications, no management experience, but she pressured to have him installed as the executive director.
But he was handsome.
No, can't even say that. But he was loyal to her. He was a henchman. And the reason we can say this with great certainty is in 2022, Shannon O'Brien was brought in to clean up the Cannabis Control Commission, which was chaotic and not fulfilling its promises. Shannon is a former state treasurer herself, very well regarded public servant. And she got to the bottom of the problem, which in particular included favoritism. Sean Collins was treating candidates he liked different than candidates he didn't like for licenses and complying with regulations. So Shannon O'Brien went to Deb Goldberg with this information, and Goldberg, instead of letting O'Brien fire Sean Collins, which would have been the rational response, decided that she had to get rid of O'Brien. And so she falsely accused O'Brien of being a racist, which launched 2 years of litigation, $1 million wasted by Deb Goldberg on this frivolous lawsuit trying to accuse Shannon O'Brien of being a racist. And in the end, the judge ruled that the charge of racism was built on a house of cards and reinstated Shannon O'Brien last September, where, again, she continued to do a great job. I've spoken to multiple people who are in the cannabis industry who said she was the only one who cared about employee safety. She was the only one who cared about public safety. Well, not the only one. Kim Roy was also known as a reformer. But that certainly prior to Shannon O'Brien, these things had not been addressed. Unfortunately, the governor decided to side with Goldberg. So now the governor is now in control of the Cannabis Control Commission, and she did not appoint either Shannon O'Brien or Kimberly Roy, the two reform-minded commissioners. That's on the governor. I hope the current commissioners are able to clean up the Cannabis Control Commission, but the fact that the governor sided with Goldberg in retaining, in getting rid of the two most obvious reformers, that's disturbing, and it doesn't bode well for the future of the Cannabis Control Commission. I'm worried.
I just want them to fix the entrance and exit from the cannabis store on Rogers Street, because that's chaos itself right there. But, yeah.
Comment from the audience. And it says, I like her a lot. She's highly intelligent, very impressive, especially in regards to MSBA funding. But there needs to be limits to the audit so that it doesn't overreach the separation of power.
So I'd like to respond to that. So as an attorney, I do understand separation of powers. I actually think that is potentially a problem. The legislature does have its own powers. There's a really, really easy solution to this. All the legislature has to do is say yes. All the legislature has to do is say yes to the will of the people as expressed by the 72% who said they want an audit. The legislature imposes obligations on local governments, but it doesn't abide by those obligations itself. I am very skeptical of the legislature trying to hide behind separation of powers to avoid a full audit. Why do they not want a full audit? We can guess. We can guess. I think if the public knew what was really going on with backroom deals, if they really knew the size of the stipends that legislators are receiving, there would be a public outcry. But I think it has to start now. We have to have fully transparent government that is fully responsive.
We're never going to
the
get
people.
that. We have a crooked media here in Boston, very democratically leaning, and people say, oh, no, they're not. Yes, they are.
So it depends on the voters. If the voters truly want an audit, if they truly want transparent, open government.
No, what the media must do, and they will not, is to put it right on the nose of the candidates. If you don't accomplish this goal within 1 year of being in office, will you resign?
So the legacy media will never do that. You're correct.
Correct.
The good news that we have is there is no longer a monopoly media market. So gentlemen like yourselves, other people who run podcasts, other social media influencers, their power is great and growing. So again, there are multiple media sources now. You keep hammering on this. Every independent broadcaster needs to keep hammering on this. The Boston Globe no longer controls the media market. It is shifting much more to local media and independent media, and this shift will continue, and that is how we will ultimately get transparent, responsible government.
Wow. That's
Well,
sort of
if Eileen is on the Zoom, if she has any questions, I don't know it yet.
Hello, Eileen.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Morning, Eileen.
Eileen has some empathy for you. Her son, Anthony, is ADHD, and she's struggled. She has him in a school now. Where is he going to school now, Eileen?
He goes to the Learning Prep in West Newton.
Oh, that's a wonderful school.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Completely changed his life
Yep.
around. I'm so grateful for everybody there and everyone that was a part of that.
So my son with autism did his high school years at a really wonderful school in Beverly called New England Prep.
What was it called?
New England Prep.
New England Prep. Okay. All right. Now, do they help the students to get a job and so forth? And what does your son do now, if you don't mind me asking?
So it was kind of a miracle. This is not something that we ever thought would happen, but he was able to go to college. It took him 6 years to graduate, not 4, but he graduated from Bentley University with a degree in accounting. Unfortunately for kiddos with autism, it's tough to find jobs. He does have a good job right now as a clerk and an office clerk, and he is the best clerk they've ever had because he's so diligent and so capable. But we need to do more to educate employers as to how these kids can really be advantageous to their organizations. So a lot of these kids, once they find a good job, they'll never leave. And so if you invest in training one of these special needs students, you'll have an employee as long as you need it, or as long as you need that person. And again, they have some skills and strengths that are not fully reflected in the hiring patterns. So he does have a job right now. It doesn't fully use his degree, but we're just grateful that he's got a job where he can feel like he's a contributing member of society. That's what most people want. Most people want to feel like they're contributing, that they belong.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I love also about the Learning Prep. They have lots of co-ops with area businesses that they really fit the student to. And so I'm looking forward. My son's 7th grade now, going into 8th next year. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to see what his next few years look like there.
Well, something that I have learned with these children, don't limit their possibility. So our job as parents is to push them to the edge of their abilities and not beyond. So it's to constantly be a cheerleader, constantly be encouraging them, and yet also be there as a support. Eli has exceeded every hope or expectation my husband and I ever had for him. So we're grateful. He still lives with us and probably always will. And frankly, I love having him with us. But he does also lead an independent life, which is wonderful.
Oh.
That's awesome. And so my son tells me he's just going to take me to college with him. So I'm going to get a new life.
You know, there was years ago a Rhodes Scholar with autism who did that. His mother went to Oxford with him, and he did that as a Rhodes Scholar. So again, these kids can be quite brilliant in a lot of ways. We watched last night the movie Temple Grandin about the very famous woman who brought such increased understanding to autism, but also has changed the way that we treat animal slaughtering. That we're going to eat animals, but let's do it in a humane and compassionate way. And because her mind worked differently, she was able to see things that ordinary people couldn't see. She could understand how the animals perceived danger. And so it's really amazing what she accomplished. And her mother who pushed her and supported her at a time when mothers were told they were the cause of autism, as opposed to it just being a genetic environmental issue.
Got these two comments from the
And
audience.
Tylenol.
A full audit will actually show who's stealing the money and where it's going. The media should be asking Senator Warren what's happening with that audit. Grand slam, comrade. Good thing your son, Eileen, is not going to the learning center. That's from Jay. Back over to you, Cliff.
All right. So,
But can I just ask Elizabeth one
yeah.
question?
Just go ahead.
Where you were talking about pensions and so forth. I'm also a special education teacher, and I serve on the Lowell School Committee. So we recently just had. So I guess it's a two-part question. One is, what role does the state have in mass teacher retirement?
Do you mean pensions? What's the specific question about mass teacher
Yeah,
retirement?
in terms of pensions, and if you know anything about the Massachusetts teachers 11 plus, that whole system, we recently had teachers in saying how when it went from the 9% mass teachers retirement that was taken out of the check automatically to 11%, some teachers might have been on leave or changed their address and weren't able to give the 11%. So I was just curious if you knew anything about that in relationship to treasurer.
That is not an area that I have looked into, but can. So let me back up and first of all, thank you for your service on the school committee. It's so important. Also, thank you for your service as a special education teacher. There's a special place in heaven for people like you who work with these children. My assumption, if the change was from 9 to 11%, that was probably subject to a contract negotiation. It's not something that could just change unilaterally. And also, if there are people who are not notified, didn't receive proper notice, that's procedural and ought to be taken care of. But let me back up to the larger problem, which is, as a school committee member, how much money is required to meet state and federal obligations for special education instruction and also English language instruction. And by the time both of those mandates have come out, the remainder of the budget that's left for general education, the rest of the children, is not sufficient. And again, a major reason that I am running for treasurer, the major reason I'm running for treasurer, is my concern about local aid. We rank 39th out of 50th of the states for local aid. The state keeps the money and puts the obligation on cities and towns. The reason that we are seeing a record number of override requests this year is because the state is not returning enough in local aid. So I spent a year in a leadership position with the Massachusetts Municipal Association. The MMA asked in this year's budget for a $350 million increase, which would represent roughly $1 million for each city and town. Not nearly enough, but still, it was a token ask. The governor's budget then proposed $35 million. The House budget proposed $10 million. It's not even keeping up with inflation. And the Senate, I think, is trying to get a little bit more. My point is, we need at least $1 billion or $2 billion to come back to cities and towns to make a dent in the budget crises that all of us face. In Belmont, we did everything right. We restructured our departments to be more efficient. We reformulated our finance team. We implemented long-term budgeting. We brought down our expense growth. We adopted zoning that would be more business-friendly. None of it's enough, especially with the double-digit increases in healthcare costs. No city or town can keep up. So the reason that cities and towns are asking for overrides is not because of irresponsible spending, although there are some cities and towns that could be better run. Belmont's very well run. We run a very tight budget. The problem is the state. The state is not returning enough money in local aid. There are not enough very firm advocates for local aid on Beacon Hill. So literally the reason that I'm running for state treasurer, apart from my 4 children, they're the most important reason, but what really triggered me to do this is having served as a local official, having looked at local budgets for 10 years, and understanding that the missing piece is local aid. And the budget has increased dramatically under Mara Healy. If the state decided to be efficient, if the state audited, especially Mass Health, there are billions of dollars to be found that can be returned to cities and towns. I am absolutely confident of that. And there needs to be a firm advocate on Beacon Hill to return more money to our cities and towns, which in turn means they won't have to ask their already hard-pressed citizens for these tax increases. Family budgets are tight. A major reason that Massachusetts is the second most expensive state in the United States to live in is because we rank 4th in the nation for property taxes. We rank 8th in the nation for overall taxes. We rank 2nd in the nation for utilities costs. All of this comes out of the same family budget. We have got to find relief for cities, towns, and taxpayers.
Yes, we're definitely dealing with that in Lowell this year. The loss of funding from the state and so forth, and the city minimally funding the schools, which I think should be looked at also. Did I say the city yet? The city chose to minimally fund the schools with the money that they do have from the aid. I was going to say, so in regards to Belmont and the restructuring, how long did that take, that whole process?
It really began 10 years ago. 9 years ago is when I joined the finance committee, and we had a very good chair. And I chaired a subcommittee that started looking at pension reform. We realized that our locally run pension fund had excessive expenses. Nobody was looking at them. So these guys were hiring their buddies. Like they'd put a guy on retainer as an attorney that they didn't need. They were taking expensive trips, and we were paying for all of it because nobody was watching. So we put a lot of pressure on them, and it took a long time because these pension boards are independent. We also realized they were keeping their money out of the state-run fund, which is called PRIT, Pension Reserves Investment Trust, because if they invested it locally, they could throw money management fees to their buddies. So nothing that they did was illegal, but it was all corrupt. And I define corruption as working in your own interests for your own profit at the expense of the public good. So it took us a long time, but we finally got there where 2 years ago now, all of our assets are now invested in the state-run fund, which is more efficient and has better returns. So these things take a long time, unfortunately. You have to play a long game in local politics. And then I started the long-term budget outlooks when I was chair of the Community Preservation Committee. And I realized it's really tough to say no in a vacuum. So we were funding everything that came before us every year, but not saving money for some of the long-term expenses. And we had some big expenses looming. So I asked department heads to give us their 3 to 5 year outlook for the expenses that they thought were going to come. And once we knew that, then we could say no to projects that maybe weren't our first priority. And what that caused me to realize, and this was once I was chair of the select board, is that we needed to institutionalize that kind of long-term budgeting across the town. It couldn't just happen here or there. It needed to happen everywhere. So I implemented something called the Multi-Year Budget Advisory Committee. Other things that we did, we moved from an elected to an appointed treasurer. Our elected treasurer had missed some IRS payments because he wasn't a professional treasurer that cost us $250,000 in fines that we didn't have. We had to raid parts of the budget to do that. And so by going to a professional treasurer, we were able to find a lot of efficiencies. We also moved from an elected to an appointed board of assessors. Again, there were some crazy things going on with the board of assessors. They weren't cooperating with us. They weren't giving us information we badly needed. And those all had to be approved by the voters. So we had to take our case to the voters. So the voters said, we believe you. We believe that it's better to have professionals appointed to these jobs, and we'll trust the select board to appoint them rather than voting ourselves. Because the voters couldn't monitor what was going on in the treasurer's office or the board of assessors office. And so by professionalizing those two offices, they require fewer employees, they're streamlined. We've really realized a lot of efficiencies, and our finance team is fully integrated now.
Elizabeth, I have indirectly from your dog robber a note that you have to leave.
I do need to go.
But I'd like to extract an elevator speech from you before you go.
I'm Elizabeth Dionne. I am running to be the taxpayer's treasurer for one simple reason, which is that I think every dollar needs to be treated with the respect that it deserves. We need to remember that every dollar has come from the taxpayer's pocket. As I said, the most important reason I'm running is my husband and I have 4 adult children who cannot afford to live and raise their children here in Massachusetts. My pledge is to increase transparency and to work with others on Beacon Hill toward greater affordability so that Massachusetts is a place where everyone can live, grow, and thrive. And I strongly encourage you to visit my website. It's votedionne.com, votedionne.com, to join our movement for a taxpayer's treasurer who answers to you, the voters and the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's so important that we get this message about the treasurer out.
And you can come back.
Okay.
Say one more thing.
Quick.
I think that you compliment Diana DeZoglio amazingly. I love the fact that you're an attorney. And I think that saying that you just said it may be legal, but it's corrupt, should be through the sign entering into Lowell.
I've used that phrase a lot in Belmont. Yes, it can be legal and still be corrupt. And I also think very highly of Diana DeZoglio. She has stood up to not just the anger, but even the anger of our entire party to express that. And that takes more courage and backbone, and I commend her for that. And also, I worked in a very bipartisan fashion in Belmont. We worked across party lines. Again, a lot of these issues are not partisan, they're just what's right. And Democrats and Republicans alike can come together to do what is right for the country.
Thank you again for coming in.
Really appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you. You too. So, Eileen, Friday, you mentioned reading education reform.
Say that again, Cliff. Reading education reform.
What?
Friday, I mentioned what?
Just a second. Yeah. Why are we on break?
All right, Eileen.
Okay, Cliff.
Reading education reform.
Yes.
What's going on?
So in our city of Lowell, we adopted a new reading program, which we get lots of federal funding because of reading reform, and so forth. And we entered into an agreement with the ARC Reading Company. The issue at hand is that certain scores aren't correlating with going up with the ARC program, such as our WIDA scores, which are WIDA is an ELL, English Language Learning Measure, where Lowell is a gateway city, and you would think that would be a first priority to assure that those scores are going up with an aligned reading program. When we had the meeting on Wednesday about the curriculum, a lot of teachers came out and basically said because they know the science of reading and so forth, that they've been supplementing the ARC with other reading programs that they know that are effective, and where the ARC program is lacking. So we really need to look at our reading program in Lowell, and allow for our teachers who are on the front lines every day to really be able to supplement the current reading program that we invested in, and to be able to get our kids to be readers.
So how are our kids doing across the board? I mean, Mississippi, Louisiana, states like that have increased their performance. Have we been able to bump ours a little bit?
Since COVID, yes, definitely, but we're going from virtual to in person, right? So our scores obviously went up since COVID, and the lack of learning since when we weren't in school from COVID. But where we are nationally is not ideal, I do not think, in areas of the fundamentals and the sciences of reading. And if you look at any quarterly report that we're given, you'll see most of our students are in the red, which is failing or struggling, or the yellow. And the data is right in front of us and the community, and I encourage everybody to get more involved and look at these reports and say something's really wrong. And as Elizabeth was saying, these are our tax dollars, these are our students. We've even got letters from parents who say that our new reading program is lacking. So it seems like there is some type of disconnect between administration and what really works for our students, so forth.
Well, are we doing anything to make reading important to students where they get pleasure out of reading fiction, or they find that by reading they learn more about the world around them? Are we doing anything like that?
I think all of our schools do all that they can to promote engagement in reading, whether it be, parties, or they'll have earn a pizza party, whoever reads the most books, or Lowell does an incredible job at trying to engage kids into reading. The issue becomes it really is an intrinsic thought. Like, a lot of kids just struggle with learning certain concepts of reading and just do not prefer it. Our producer has expressed he just does not like to read, right? And so that's his personal opinion. But now we have kids that are lacking the actual skills to put all of reading together, and so they're especially not motivated to read for pleasure.
Yeah, John, before I go on to my next question for Eileen, do you have any announcements you need to make? Okay. So, Eileen, I saw in the paper that there's a lawsuit accusing schools in Massachusetts of segregating students. And this seemed a little strange to me. It argues the state is illegally maintaining schools that are racially segregated, that concentrating Black and Latino students in high poverty districts with fewer opportunities. Do the students here in Lowell have the right to apply for a school in Dracut or Chelmsford or Tewksbury?
Before we even get to another district, right, a parent would have to be responsible for transporting that child. And I think every time we have that school choice option, it actually it gets voted down. But if you just, again, look at the data that we're provided, you'll see that the majority of Hispanic Latinos go to school in the highest poverty areas such as Centerville, McAuliffe, and the Robinson. And you don't see those ratios in the Upper Highlands or Belvedere. You can just look at the data throughout the city and you can see that it's non-proportionate. And as the Elizabeth was saying, in terms of our students, and I just completely lost my train of.
Okay, I got some announcement from the audience.
Stand by, Eileen.
If I can get them back up on the screen. If a parent has to ask about their child's help with reading, then maybe the parent should put down the phone and help them with their reading. I think the phone is a good example of what can help our kids. We all know that politicians are stealing our money, and we all live in an area that energy costs are 30% higher than the other states. Whose fault is this? We keep electing the wrong
Well,
people.
I'd like to answer that question.
Go ahead.
It's the voters. They don't show up. And if they don't show up, the politicians think they got a free ride.
Well, Cliff,
But if 60% of the voters showed up, it would scare the politicians. And I hope scare them straight.
I was going to say, actually, as Elizabeth was saying, like how Belmont put the time into redistricting and rezoning, that's something that Lowell really needs to look into, because some schools are citywide schools, such as the Robinson and the Bartlett. You can send a student there at any point of the school year, just because it's a citywide school. So we really should look at our citywide schools and the proportion and what it looks like in terms of demographics. I think rezoning is something that is very important, because if you just look at the data that we're given right now, it's disproportionate.
Well, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that people are counting on the students to support the students. That if we move Latino or black students into primarily Caucasian schools or primarily Asian schools, they'll do better. But is that because of the teachers, because of the facility, because of the support, or is it because of the other students who are setting the standard and encouraging their fellow students to meet the standard?
doesn't anybody think that everyone is promoted is a problem? You don't have to read. You don't even have to go to school. You're going to get a diploma. We have diploma. I heard on the media, some TV station, I like the phrase, we have diploma mills. It's no longer education. It's a diploma mill.
I would agree with you, except to borrow that phrase in my own lived experience. I probably should have been held back, but I was promoted with my classmates all the way through 7th grade. When I hit 8th grade, everything got better.
But Cliff, it's a different time now. There were no cell phones. There were no computers. Things are much, much different nowadays. And the government just looks the other way and passes everybody.
But there were distractions then.
Not what we have right now. Do you know the audience right now is sitting there watching their TV, fanning through their phone at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, as one of my favorite yet true sayings that a student said to me when I first started working in Methuen, Miss, why do I need to learn how to read when I can just ask Siri? I mean, it's unfortunate and it's true. I can just ask my phone to tell me. I can highlight it and ask it to speak to me.
That's right. And I think that an ingredient in helping to educate our children, these electronics should be in the curriculum. Using
Although I do feel like a part of Anthony learning how to read had to do with him decoding my text messages because he's nosy. So it needs, like you said before, John. We need to catch up to where we are technology for our students to really have meaning with it and learn from it. Like we need to catch up with this generation educationally.
Well, ignoring the cell phones, well, we're not going to let them use them in school and blah, 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 blah. I think you should incorporate the cell phones into everyday teaching in the classroom. But no,
Instead of fighting them, right? Instead of fighting it, if you can't beat them, join them, right?
Yeah.
that's my thought.
Well, with regard to this school segregation system, the DESE spokesperson, Jacqueline Rees, said, let me quote her here, Massachusetts leads the nation in student achievement, and we are committed to building on this progress to strengthen our education system for every student in our state. Except Massachusetts doesn't lead the nation. We fell to third. And my question is the status, is the state failing Black and Latino students, or is it the parents that are failing these students?
The parents, where is parent school, by the way? And how are parents supposed to know what to do?
You went to parent school for 18 years, John.
Yeah, I did pretty good at it.
And then?
But I was lucky to be married to the right person the first time. There are a lot of, I would say probably 40% of the kids are in single-parent families. Are there any numbers on that, single-parent families?
In Lowell, I would say the majority are single-parent families. And then that's, again, where you get the demographic issues. If you look at the Upper Highlands, they come from a lot of two-family households, or Belvedere, two-family households. Then you get into the Acre, you get into Centerville, the downtown area. South Lowell, you get more of the one-parent families. But I can look into the data on that also. And to answer your question, I do believe it's the parents' fault and the choice of curriculum that our school districts are using. All programs are normed, referenced against certain populations. So if we know we're struggling with one certain set of demographics, then we should really be investing in curriculums that are norm referenced closer to their demographics to help with that gap, and utilizing our federal and state funding appropriately so that our students make progress and continue to make progress.
Just a point in passing, tomorrow City Life, we're going to have Bobby Hoey, Francisco Maldonado, Sean McDonough, and Tom Bomo. And the only announcement I was supposed to put out today, and I'm going to do it now, is John Drinkwater for state rep. He's having a party tonight, 6 to 9 p.m. at the Old Court, downtown Lowell, 29 Central Street. Happy to see you get over there. Back to Cliff.
Okay. We mentioned Joe Biden has a book coming out tomorrow, I think. But President Biden's library is not collecting much money, so you should consider contributing to President Biden's presidential library.
Did you write a check yet, Cliff?
No, I sent some money to Susan Collins instead.
Who's Susan Collins?
She is one of the senators in Maine, and she's being opposed by a Democrat, Graham Plattner, infamous for having a Nazi tattoo and for just speaking in a derogatory manner about other people. some soldier got wounded. Somebody videoed it, probably from a helmet camera, and he said, he wasn't doing it right, he should have been killed. I mean, that's not a very nice thing to say. Do you think?
It's not, but like Trump, he says what he wants. He says some very, very embarrassing stuff, and he just doesn't care.
Yeah, but President Trump doesn't have a Nazi tattoo, for instance.
How do you know?
And I haven't heard him say that if you get raped, it's your fault. So I don't know about...
Cliff, some of the stuff, like when he put his name on that library that's down in Washington, I thought it was down in Boston. And
Culture Center.
You want to correct me on anything else before I make my statement?
No. But,
Are you sure?
I'm just being
Obviously,
reciprocal.
you're not sure.
I'm sure, but I'm just being reciprocal.
Understood.
But go ahead about Trump putting his name on the building.
What good came of it? He just ticked off the Democrats. He wastes way too much time trying to tick off the Democrats and saying he really won the election 4 years ago. Oh, I know, 5 years ago now. Or is it 6?
5.5.
Okay, thank you for the correction.
You asked me a question.
I got you. I wonder if President, this is a 2 checks I think we got.
Go ahead.
Just blowing up so people can read them. Why do we do that? To prove that we actually get these things? Here it comes. Slower than government. Kids definitely have it easier nowadays. Most don't have jobs and are allowed to play video games for hours on end. Good point, that's true. I wonder if President Biden's book will mention the cocaine at the White House. Great show today. No, I don't think that Jill's book will have that.
Yeah, that cocaine thing sure looks like it was covered up, doesn't it? What do you think, Eileen?
Sorry, say that again, Cliff?
That cocaine in the White House sure looks like it was covered up. Don't you?
I don't know. I didn't really see it, but I heard they're building a swimming pool in there. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's no swimming pool. He's just building a ballroom. You mean in Biden's library?
No, there was cocaine in the White House.
Okay, never mind.
Oh, Hunter. Oh yeah, there was. That got covered up real quick.
Yeah.
Well, he got pardoned forever.
All right, so
Imagine that was one of Trump's kids.
for Friday, maybe we'll talk about the assertion that the war on poverty may have caused a permanent underclass, according to economists. Does that resonate with you, Eileen?
A permanent underclass?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in it. Who put a permanent underclass in?
The war on poverty, LBJ.
Hey, we're running short on time. I just want to wish my friend Jose Cervantes good luck on his new adventure. He's the host, I guess. I have not listened to the show yet, but he's the host on WCAP Mornings. A good friend, good guy. So I hope that prospers well.
Yeah.
Back to you, Cliff.
Good luck, Jose. So we're down to the last few seconds. I hope everyone is going to have a good week this week. It's weather's going to be better. It's supposed to go to the 70s, and life is good. There are setbacks, there are problems, but life is good. So goodbye, everybody, and good luck.
Look at you being all philosophical today there, Cliff.
I'm sorry. Did
I
you-
like it.
Hey, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks, Eileen.
Hey, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks, Eileen.
Oh, wonderful. I thought you did great. You said this one that you were. It was good for me, but she does tend to get slightly long.